Now this was supposed to be part 2 of how to cut a big hedge, but in all honesty the uh, filming of this went absolutely out the window. Everything went wrong for me. Um, all this footage is that this whole video is filmed over 3 different visits to this property. One of the visits I became really ill and had to go home. One of the visits there was a garden party and couldn't film then, and ended up just saying, well, forget about it, I'm just going to finish this hedge because it's driving me absolutely crazy. So this footage here is just the anything that I could salvage from the stuff I was going to show you. And the end of this video I actually end up showing you a totally different video of how I cut a big hedge. Now it's not really going to be a how-to video. I will not probably be able to go into too much detail, but I will tell you a couple of tips along the way. So here I just want to show you I have a new hedge cutter. It's a HS45, it's the short handle one. I've always been used to using the long pole one, but I got this one for my birthday, for my parents, thank you very much. And it's been really good. What I like about it is it uses totally different muscles than I use to use the long handled one. So when I get a bit fed up using the long handled one, I can just swap over and use that one. It comes in handy, and I'll show you it in action in a little while. Now one of the things to think about when you're cutting a hedge like this is the amount of waste you're making. I'm fairly lucky on this job, I get to put it on a big bonfire pile, which I can burn throughout the year. But if I had to take this all away, I would probably have to make 4 or 5 different trips to try and get it all into the van. So if you are cutting a hedge like this, just be aware of the amount of rubbish you're making. Now that's it, this hedge is done all the way up to the front of the garden. You can see my new van's in action, and we now move off to a totally different day. So I think this was the day I had to basically ditch the camera and everything because I felt so ill. So now we go to about 4 weeks in the future. So this footage now is roughly about 4 weeks after the very first part of this video. It just seems to have been going on and on forever. So this long tall hedge down the side of this property also needed cutting this year, and so I decided to try and give you a decent view of how I cut the top of this hedge. I've actually come up with a little idea. Basically just stick a board on top of the hedge, and extreme close up of Juno there, sorry about that, and I will stick a board on top of the hedge, and then I will put my camera on a little tripod on the hedge. Now I was very nervous doing this. I didn't do a lot of the footage like it because I was worried that my camera was going to fall through the hedge. And this hedge is really 3 parts. It's very wide. There's sort of 3 parts of it, as you can see here. It's probably about 100 meters long, and you really do feel every single meter of it when you're up there and you're trying to work your way along. But you can see where I've reached over as far as I can, and what I do is once I've done the main part of it from this side of the garden, I will go on the outside. There's a road that runs alongside this property, so I will go on the outside of it quite easily and cut it from the roadside. So that's all I've got to do left. Now here is our close-up footage. Now this hedge isn't a pretty hedge. It's full of different things, different plants altogether, ivies in it, run rampant all the way through it. Very first time I was asked to cut this hedge, I actually had to refuse the customer. I was told him I couldn't cut it because there was a low hanging power cable hanging and it was basically touching the hedge at the time. And I told the customer that unless he got the power cable sorted out, I wouldn't be cutting it. He was quite convinced it wasn't a power cable, but I remember one time I was actually there and it blew against the trees, and it was a huge flash of light, and there was a huge power cut. So I told him from then on I probably wouldn't be cutting that hedge. The power board actually came round and they raised it right up out of the way, so I was then safe to cut the hedge. But so it hadn't been done for probably 4 or 5 years. It was in a real bad way. I had to cut it with a mixture of the hedge cutters, my loppers, and with just a saw, just to go through it manually. Took quite a long time to get it round the way I like it. I say that it's not a very pretty hedge at all. If you look all the way down it, it's lumpy and bumpy. I just want to get it tidy and manageable so that I can come out here once a year and to cut it down and keep it looking tidy. So some tips for you with cutting a big hedge like this. Obviously make sure your ladder is very secure, you're not going to slip off anywhere. Ideally you probably have a second person here helping you, maybe stood on the bottom of the ladder, or you just take it in turns cutting the top of the hedge, you don't get so exhausted. Try and cut everything nearest to you first and work your way over the top of the hedge. Again, don't over lean yourself because you'll end up falling into the hedge. And say just take your time with it, there's no rush. Again, the rubbish side of things that you're making, the waste side can be there can be a fair amount of it. Although when you're cutting the top of the hedge like this, I tend to try and cut it as small as I can so that it actually falls down inside the hedge and you don't have to take big lumps away. Although if you are cutting a hedge that has been around for quite a while and the stuff you're cutting is a lot thicker, you won't be able to get away with it. So just bear that in mind. The waste you're making is always an issue. Now here I can try and show you some of the differences in the size of the hedge I'm actually cutting. It's a mixture of, you can sort of see the remnants of the very first time I cut the hedge down to the stuff I'm just cutting today. Now, as I say, when the very first time I cut this hedge, a lot of it had to be done by hand. I didn't have any chainsaws or anything like that, so you can see the real thick stuff there was all sawn. And I'll just take you here and just show you on the that's like a 2 years worth of growth, and the stuff I've been cutting today is like a year's worth of growth, and it's just so much easier, and I'll cut the hedge so much quicker doing it that way. So yeah, try and do it once a year and you'll just be so much safer. And also what I like to do is while I'm going across the top, when I feel like I've had enough doing the top, everything is aching, my bones are all sort of feel like I've had enough, I just change it up a little bit. I'll just do a little bit at the front, and it just, like I say, just uses different muscles to do some of the front of the hedge rather than climbing up and down the ladder all afternoon. So the biggest tip I can give you cutting a big hedge like this, especially the top, is just feel safe at all times. If you set the ladder up somewhere and you're up there on your own cutting the hedge and you feel a little bit wobbly and you're sort of not too sure, don't take the risk, guys. Just jump down off the ladder, maybe put something like a bag of sand on the bottom of it if you think it's going to sort of tip up. But with this hedge, because I can get both sides of it, it's not too bad. If you was cutting it in between a neighbour's property, you sometimes feel like you want to get right the way over. You know, don't feel bad if you want to pop round the neighbours and just ask if I can finish off cutting this hedge. So I hope you enjoyed this video, hope you got something out of it. There'll be more hedge videos in the future. This one turned out all okay. Hope you're well, guys. Be good. I'll see you soon.